Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Convention Confessional. My name is Katy Hunt, and I'm here to guide you through the good, the bad, the ugly, and all of those wonderful convention gems that we all have come to know and love. And today, I'm very excited because I'm always excited when my really close friends are here to be on the show, but I always get more excited when I chat with people that I don't know as well because I have no clue what's coming as far as stories go. And today, I would like to introduce to you all Reüben. Hi, how are you?
Oh, I'm fine. How are you?
I'm great. It's so nice to finally talk to you. I've heard so much.
Oh, I'm sure most of it's a lie, but that's why I pay them.
Exactly. Good money. Well spent. We have a mutual friend, Patrick D, who's been on the show before.
Oh, Patrick D. Yeah, he's a good guy.
And he's tagged you several times in all of like the chats and things. So I finally got a hold of you, and I'm very excited about it because he's very adamant about you being on here.
Oh, yeah. So he's, if I remember correctly, and I know I do, Patrick D runs the Anime Cons TV podcast.
He sure does, and fancons.com.
Yep. So anyone that doesn't listen to that podcast, you should. And I'll open with this. They have a voicemail line. If you watch the podcast, they've got the number on there, and I'll have to look it up. But I have one very important lesson for everyone here. If you harass them enough, if you leave them enough voicemails, you get to be on the show.
No way.
Oh yeah, no, I don't even know what year it was. It might have been 2009 or 10. I was listening to their podcast and no one was leaving voicemails, so I left one.
Sure.
And Rob, aka Sketch from that podcast, made a terrible mistake, and that mistake is giving me any amount of attention, especially if I'm bored. And his mistake was listening to my voicemail and telling me that I sounded like the movie phone guy, causing me to never stop calling them. I accused Rob of terrible things.
It's not hard.
I've made up so much stuff. I need to make like a clip show because for a long time I didn't like take over the voicemail, but I was a frequent character to the point where eventually they let me and my buddy Bill film a couple episodes.
Oh, nice.
They're super friendly, super nice people, and it's a fun podcast. But yeah, so stalking works, and you should all try it.
Yes. in a certain sense, yes.
You will definitely get a result. I will not guarantee the quality of the result.
Right. You either get to be on the show or you get a pretty piece of paper that says stop calling.
Yeah, void where prohibited. That seems like a legal thing, I should say.
I've actually got to be on Anime Cons TV as well.
Really?
Yeah. Funny enough, I was rooming with Elizabeth, who's on the show.
Oh, okay. Yep.
And we were at a convention in a hotel room together, and she was like, man, I really have to record this piece for the show. She goes, but I'm just not feeling it right now. And I was like, I'll do it. Let me do it. And she's like, okay. So she filmed me, and it was like this random insert of information.
That's awesome.
And she sent the information to Patrick. He goes, why is it Katy?
So why not?
Right? Why not? So I had like my one little random moment on Anime Cons TV. That was my...
You should do an experiment. You should film a segment and send it to them.
Sure.
And see if it's just part of the show.
Right. Just put it in there.
those guys are all fun enough that it might just end up like on the show. I need to know for science.
For science, I will do my best for you, Reüben.
If you fake it, you can get pretty far.
Yeah.
So I'm going to tell a story from 2014.
Okay.
This made my short list that I've been writing for literally minutes because I'm that kind of nerd. So at PortCon, when I was running as tech chair, which I did for, 10 years and change, I would get my staff set up, get the rooms built. And once the staff is going, I would kick into full ADD mode and just wander around. So, most mornings I would do maybe half an hour of actual work and then just walk around, eventually taking over an area that wasn't mine. In this case, it was the reg desk. There was an empty chair, so I just sat there and started talking to people. And I do not remember what I was talking about. What I do remember is getting 3 or 4, nice kids, teenagers,
Sure.
awkward guys mostly, just going over whatever. And I stopped because I saw this beautiful brunette, which is my thing, across the room, and I got her to come over, and we were talking. And a lot of these guys, I don't think had a whole lot of luck in love or life. And I noticed this because And I was talking to her, and they were kind of like, "Wow, he's talking to this lady. That's pretty impressive." To the point where I looked at her and said, "Hey, I would really like your phone number." And she just kind of gave it to me. Looked at me a little funny, gave me the number, and I was so cool. I was king of the mountain. What they
Mm-hmm.
didn't know is that was my wife Kim, who married me in '06, and she just assumed I was so dumb and had such a bad goldfish memory that I'd lost her cell phone number.
And everyone's just like, wow, that was so smooth.
And I got kind of a reputation for doing stuff like that. The other thing I've done, I don't know if you've looked on my Facebook or not. Um, are you aware of a company called Valve? They make little games like Portal, Half-Life.
Yeah, yeah.
So every now and then, some guy, definitely from video games, will walk up to me and tell me that I have a passing resemblance to Gabe Newell. Which is sort of true, except I can't grow a beard. But if you look up Gabe Newell in the late '90s, I definitely look a little bit like him.
Okay, okay.
Now, the greatest thing about that is if you catch someone at the right height of, being excited to be in an anime convention, especially first time attendees, and your badge says chair on it, they'll believe things that you say to them. Uh, Things like, "Hey, let's not be loud about this. I don't like talking about my Uncle Gabe." And so I just spent a weekend doing that and then sending them to video games to get beta codes for Half-Life 3. To the point where I got called out at con feedback about it, but that was super fun. So if you ever have a chance to convince someone that you're someone you're not and it doesn't hurt anybody, you should.
Right. Oh yeah, absolutely. Catfish.
Mm-hmm. That's
Convention
what it was.
catfish.
To the rest of the convention staff's credit, we have a person who runs programming. Her name is Mick, and Mick is awesome. Mick did ask me how I felt about doing that, and I think Mick thought I would feel guilty. I did not. For the record, I still think it's funny. But there are people who, in the middle of a weekend with no sleep, still have a pretty good moral compass at PortCon. They're pretty fun folks.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, I love PortCon. Gosh, I haven't been to PortCon in a long time. I know they've probably moved hotels like 3 times since the last time I went.
Oh, you would love to think that. So we're in Maine.
Sure.
PortCon is in Portland, and
Right.
there is one hotel that fits. So we're still there. We have expanded. PortCon is legit leasing a space out at the mall across the road from what is now the DoubleTree. It used to be the Sheraton.
Oh my
And actually,
god.
I guess you're right because that hotel has changed hands 2 or 3 times.
Yeah.
So technically, it's a different hotel, and every time it happens, we all freeze and wonder if we're gonna have to like build our own hotel.
Well, I mean, you guys
Yeah.
they were in downtown one time, right? Like you guys moved from that hotel to like a downtown Portland hotel.
That was 2008, and you're right. So that was my second year.
Okay.
That was a hotel called the Eastland, which lovely facility.
Mm-hmm.
At the time, if you were a fan of The Shining and wanted to have an experience where you were positive two twin little girls might murder you in the hallway at 3 in the morning,
I mean, it's
that was the
Maine.
hotel for you.
It's Stephen King's like hometown. Like Maine in general is just where Stephen King lives.
Yep, and Stephen, he's a great guy. So the better thing about that hotel is it's a landmark in that part of Portland, and rightfully so. There's it's a beautiful site.
Yeah, yeah.
So you've and everyone listening has probably been to an anime convention where you'll see people. We've got our sci-fi nerds, our furries, our muggles that just show up because they're regular people. That whole mix.
Yep, yep.
So our first day at the Eastland, like our first full day, we had pre-reg on Thursday, which was kind of a light day, and then Friday, we cranked up and went full gears. And that year, PortCon happened on the 4th of July. So
Okay.
we had a lot of people, mostly kids. Their parents had dropped them off for the weekend and realized, hey, this hotel will babysit our kids, and we're going to go home and get drunk the whole time. And I'm sad I wasn't there with them. That same year, we had a theme with our security staff, among other things. Our security, for some reason, all wanted to be decked out in tactical vests and camo. I do not know what they thought was going to happen at this anime convention with less than 2,000 people. But whatever it was, they were ready for it. And our attendance that first full day was great. Especially our crossplay was really strong, if I remember. There was a gentleman who did the best Princess Peach with a 5 o'clock shadow I've ever seen in my whole life. Now, this is important, not just because it's an anime con, but this historic hotel had this going on, and in the middle of all this, a Greyhound bus pulled up in front of the building,
Okay.
and it was packed with people that were 70 years older and just up.
Okay.
And watching that bus pull up and watching security stop, I remember the security chair at the time looked at me and said, oh, this is going to be a good show. And I didn't know what had happened until I turned around and saw this bus that wanted to show off the historic Eastland Hotel. And I am positive that what we were doing had at no point happened in history. We were definitely a first time.
Right,
That
right. I
crowd
mean,
was very polite, but they were not prepared for us. I remember a couple very nice older women buying badges to go to the dealer's room. But that was a moment. We have not been asked back to that particular hotel. That was a perfect storm of things that did. Kids that had never been in a hotel by themselves left completely unsupervised.
typical.
Like nothing bad happened. No one died that I'm aware of.
Right, right. Yeah, it's just a
Um,
bad. I love that parents think they can just do that. It's like, well, you've got a badge. Here's $10. Go buy something pretty. Bye. Mommy loves you.
yeah, 2008 is the reason we have a whole series of rules in the website now.
Get me a notebook.
Yeah, it's just
No.
that was fun. It's too bad because the place was beautiful. It had a huge ballroom. We had no idea how to use it. That was my second year running tech. I think I had 8 people.
Mm-hmm.
I broke the AMV contest. I don't know what possessed me to say that I could do the anime music videos, but at
Okay.
Archon, that's like the defense against the dark arts teacher.
Sure,
Every
sure.
year, someone would volunteer for it, and every year it would go poorly. In my case, someone stole the hard drive with 8 whole movies on it or something.
No.
Yeah, I
Oh
mean, I
my
didn't do a good
god.
job anyway, so I think that was the best possible scenario based on my video editing talent was that the drive was just gone. People
Oh.
weren't subjected to my lack of talent in that thing.
No. That's not
Oh,
true.
I'm good at a lot of things, but I am openly bad at that. I'm good enough at
Oh.
things that I'm good at that I have no need to tell you I'm any good at video editing. I'm great at watching videos. I am amazing at YouTube.
Mhm.
Like
Mhm.
like when it comes to hitting play and consuming content and doing nothing meaningful in the realm of creativity.
Oh. Yeah, I love AMVs. I feel like that's like one
Mhm.
of the biggest events at a convention. Like there's that, the masquerade, the game shows.
Oh, the
Like
game shows. Yep.
you always say you're going to go for the panels, but I mean honestly, you're not.
Hmm.
You go to your friends' panels and then you're like, "Well, I'm going to go in the dealer's room for 3 hours. Bye guys."
That sounds about right. Gosh, I can't think of the last time I went to a panel. Well, okay, the last time I went to a panel, I was running it with my friend Ian,
Sure.
and we started running a Star Trek panel because we were bored.
Mhm.
And I think 8 people go to it, and they keep letting us do it, and I have no idea why. And it's we last year we didn't talk about Star Trek. We spent an hour online trolling people and talking about Battlestar Galactica because we thought it was funny.
Hell yeah.
And the couple attendees we had seemed entertained.
Yeah. Let's see. Last panel. Well, I mean, the last panel that I went to, my
Hmm.
friends were doing a panel in Anime Boston a few years ago to tell people, like, give them tips and stuff about how to have a successful masquerade performance.
Oh, yep.
The last one that I held at a convention, it was called Reading Ranch Live on my YouTube channel that is now all about this podcast. Um,
Okay.
I used to run a show once a week when I went back to go live with my mother after unfortunate events. Um,
Hmm. Hmm.
and I used to take her dirty romance novels, her cowboy novels, everything. And
Oh,
I used to criticize them.
oh. I'm. Can you please start the show again? I, I.
I
Oh, that is my jam. I need to experience that.
there's several episodes up on my YouTube for this podcast. You can actually go back and watch them under their own little like tag. I
And I
unfortunately live
will.
on my own now, like an adult, so I don't
Hmm.
unfortunately live with my mother anymore. That does not mean that there is a lack of resources that I could start the show again potentially. I just don't think I have the strength.
I mean, I'm just gonna say you've got this platform. You could absolutely set up a PO box, and
Mm.
were you foolish enough to do so, oh, there's so many people that I know would mail you books.
Oh yeah,
My
oh yeah.
Amazon history. Any time I'm hanging out with friends and it gets a little too quiet, my go-to is looking up Chuck Tingle. Um, and I based on your reaction, I assume you're aware of his very fine dinosaur erotica series.
I am, yes. Yes, someone brought it up at one of the Reading Ranch Live panels one time. Yes.
See, there's no finer experience I can think of than someone reviewing those, or if I could get a voice actor to just read one of those books at a panel, just like a live audiobook session.
I actually, at the panel, because I went through my mother's books rather quickly, what I end up doing is I go through and I find excerpts where I'm like, well, that sounds disgusting and naughty. Pin it, like read the back, read the front. When I was done with that, I had like, a full hour for the panel. I was like, well, has anybody got anything for me to review? And somebody gave me My Immortal. And I did it. Oh, I did it. I was like, I don't think I've ever actually fully ever read My Immortal, because I mean, who can actually do that to themselves? But yeah, that was my last panel that I ever did myself, was to read dirty cowboy novels at like midnight. And it was a full room, which I don't know if that's on them or on me. Like, I don't know what's worse, the fact that I ran the panel or the fact that there was only standing room available for it.
There is nothing better than an off the rails 18 plus panel.
It's true.
Have you ever considered buying some of these books and like adding to your mom's collection when she's not paying attention?
Honestly,
like
Reüben, I think my mother owns them all.
Oh, okay.
When we go to the Barnes and Noble together, she has a master list. And yeah, it's just like it's serious.
I do not have that relationship with my parents. I'll be honest. I don't know how to feel about it.
Right.
That's an amazing story.
I mean, the woman read 50 Shades of Grey and then was sad when the movies didn't come out fast enough. So it's just like,
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'm not even going to attempt to top that. I'm just going to say that your mom needs some Chuck Tingle books. I'd like to know how that went.
I think I'll probably get her some and just see how she feels about it. Yeah.
Oh, please report back on that experience. I need to know.
Take 2.
Oh.
So
oh my God, that's amazing.
Yeah, but yeah, no. Again, anybody listening, if they care, the closed caption for the show is not the only thing on our YouTube channel. There's old Reading Ranch episodes. Please feel free to go watch them.
Oh, I've got some stuff to do at a desk, and that's gonna. Before we finish talking this evening, I just need to make sure, like, if you can Facebook me that link or something. I need
absolutely. I will send it right to you.
That's amazing. So are you from New England, or are you from the Massachusetts area?
I am from New Hampshire.
Okay. So are you familiar with a beverage made in Maine called Moxie?
Unfortunately, I am.
So I was talking about how PortCon has some rules, and I'm going to guess you're one of those people. You're probably the reason for a couple of rules. At least I hope you are. You seem like you have that potential.
I have dabbled, yes.
I am soft banned from directly interacting with voice actors at PortCon.
Okay.
If they don't talk to me first.
Sure.
Do you know Jekka? Are you friends with her at all?
Yes, I know Jekka. Yep.
Okay, so Jekka is one of my favorite people. She's also my cat photo dealer. And not to be dramatic, but I would die for Jekka. Jekka's amazing.
That's fair. Who wouldn't?
I have an email saved somewhere where it's. I don't email Jekka a lot. I bother her on Facebook, but my favorite email from Jekka is one word. It just says no, and it says no because I asked if I could put together gift baskets for our voice actors. The reason Jekka said no was because. When you run a staff, it's amazing when people will just kind of do the stuff you tell them to.
Right.
And it's also, I get why it's not okay to just hand beverages to voice actors when they don't know who you are. So I didn't go that far. What I did figure out is if it's warm, if it's June or July and you're running a convention and there's a really hot panel room, if you ask your in-room tech to maintain a bowl of ice with cans of Moxie in it, and just not acknowledge it, they're just there. A warm voice actor from Texas or California or wherever will ask if they may have a cold drink.
Oh no.
And my favorite thing is watching them open that, and when they acknowledge it, oh yeah, that's from Maine, that's our soda. So they now think, oh, I can't insult the state of Maine. And watching them try to lie to us while drinking that first Moxie, or even better, Diet Moxie, which was a whole different kind of evil.
Oh God! Like it's like, how could Moxie be worse? Oh, we'll make it diet.
Uh, the other fun use and that's why I get yelled at sometimes. Although I'm still, if you go to PortCon Maine, I'm now listed as the mentor, and I question that decision, but that's fine.
Hey,
The other thing, the other thing everyone listening to this should try and do. Have you had the con experience where people plan poorly and by the middle of the weekend they're out of money and they're like, "Hey, I would like a taco or whatever."
oh yeah.
Yeah, it's fun to carry around just a 12 pack of Moxie and just give one to anyone that asks and wait.
Oh
And you'll
my
find some
God.
people that like it, but most of the time they do not know what it is.
Mm.
And not that the suffering of others should entertain everyone here. And I know I'm painting a picture that I'm horrible. I swear I have redeeming qualities. Like I can make a good Alfredo. Uh,
Hey,
man, I
just
love watching that reaction. It just makes me happy.
I know Moxie is like a you either love it or you hate it. There is no in between. Like you
Well, yeah,
can't
they call it. Go ahead.
you don't talk to somebody and go, oh, how do you feel about Moxie? And they're like, oh yeah, I don't mind it. It's either, oh my God, I love Moxie, or don't you ever don't you ever
Mhm.
hand me a can of Moxie, I will throw it at you.
Right. And people like to say it's an acquired taste, which is a really weird way to say Stockholm syndrome.
Right. Right. It's like that's not how it's spelled.
Hmm. Hmm.
um speaking of guests and giving them things, especially from the South or Texas or somewhere, I have a great story about Boston cream pie.
Oh, Patrick D's favorite.
Yes, yes, it's a great. But Texas people get very confused because you hand them cake and they're like, "Well, this isn't pie." You're like, "No, it is. It's Boston cream pie." They're like, "This is cake." I'm like, "I'm aware." They're like, "Then why did you call it pie?" I'm like, "Well, the same with whoopie pies." And you hand them a whoopie pie, they're like, "Okay, this is also not a pie." It's like, yes, New England's weird. We name things pie, and then it ends up being some form of cake something. Even I, as a New Englander, can't explain that. I don't know.
Isn't cheesecake kind of a pie?
I mean, it's got a crust.
Okay.
It's not like a flour based crust, though. It's a graham cracker crust.
Yeah. And I
Yeah.
found some local stores go way too heavy on the crust. We bought a cheesecake recently, and it
Mm,
had like an inch thick crust in the center. And look, I don't need that amount of graham cracker in my life. That's not why we're
no.
here.
No,
No,
wow. That's aggressive.
it is.
That's aggressive.
Makes me
Now,
want to go fight someone at the bakery.
right, right. Best cheesecake I ever had, though, and I found out about it after New York Comic Con one year.
Hmm.
So thanks, New York Comic Con, for this. Juniors in Times Square. Have you been there?
I have not.
Oof. Treat yourself. Someday,
Okay.
go to New
All
York.
right.
Go to Junior's Cheesecake. You will never be let down by anything you have there.
Okay. I now have a 2 item long list of restaurants to go to in New York.
Oh, well, after
So
this podcast is over, I'll give you like 16 more places to visit, so don't worry.
well, the only other one I had is because I found it on Google, and there's one called Just Reubens,
Yep.
and because I'm that ridiculous, I need a photo of me in front of that restaurant. I
Yeah.
could Photoshop it, but it's not the same.
It's not the same. Junior's also has a really good Reuben at it, too. Just a heads
Oh,
up.
okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I will tell the wife. She loves those sandwiches,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
which is just good branding, really.
Yeah. So you do a lot of PortCon stuff. You work at PortCon all the time, or you just frequent PortCon?
So, I do a lot of FortCon. I started in 2006, and I had no interest in being there, and I wanted to go home the whole time. That's so. This is the reason I told that first story first.
Mm-hmm.
So, I got married in '05, and that October, wait, no, October is when I got married. So that summer
Uh huh.
for PortCon 2006, my wife wanted to go to PortCon, and I hadn't gone the previous year because I didn't have to. But I
Okay.
was now married and wanted to stay that way. So we went to PortCon, and it was sort of fine. We had way too many people in the hotel room because the room was a whopping $100 a night, and I think 8 of us could afford that at the time.
Sure.
So we put that all together, and I have this memory of the masquerade, and the masquerade was good. The MC was good, but their PA system was a karaoke machine that they were holding a microphone up to an amplified speaker, and this was how the whole con ran. They had a cap of like 1,600 people. It was not a big event.
Sure.
And I, being super smart, complained. Anyone that was with me that was having fun, I corrected them and let them know they should not be having a good time. And if they were entertained, I was mad about it. And at the end, my buddy Patrick, who's still my friend for some reason, different Patrick,
Mm-hmm.
introduces me to Julie York. If you don't know Julie, you need a Julie in your life. She's great.
Okay. Okay.
But he, having listened to me do that the whole week, and goes, "Hey, Julie, this is Rue, and he knows how to run a soundboard," which was technically true. I was then chair of tech through 2018, and when I
Wow.
attempted to retire, was made a mentor. So
Which you've established was a mistake.
yeah. Well, I mean, I like going. That's kind of neat. And
Right.
I like, I like the project planning and all that, and the tech stuff gives me something to do. I was quasi effective because I do not hate anime. I sort of don't care.
Sure.
And so I'm harder to distract, at least with anime. If it's a really bright, colorful cosplay, I respond to bright colors,
Mm-hmm.
shiny things, and
Mm-hmm.
baby animals. Those things will distract me.
All
But
good
if you're
things.
talking about if you're talking about Cowboy Bebop, I'm just gonna stare at you and make sure the microphone works.
Now, as a mentor, I'm assuming that you guys get like little like thrones or something where like there's a room and like you walk into it and be like, "Oh, mentor."
I still don't fully know what my job is. I think so. I've got a woman named Angelica has taken over tech, so that's a good
Sure.
example. And she comes to me with, "Hey, how did you run this?" And I walk her through that. William Keefe, the guy I was co-chair with, same thing. He reaches out and talks to people. So I think the idea is that I'm supposed to take my influence and my experience and kind of share that when asked.
All right.
Uh,
Sure.
I'm also pretty sure. So Julie and her husband Ryan and I are friends. We've become pretty close friends through the last decade. As far as I can tell, it was to make sure I kept going to PortCon. And I don't have legal documentation to prove that, but Julie did stop my wife in the hotel the last year I was running his chair,
Mm-hmm.
and said something like, "Hey, I found a way to keep your husband." So
He's ours. It's
yeah,
like
I mean,
Ursula.
I'll still show up and help with stuff. Like I went last year, and I'm told I did something useful. I just remember sitting down and talking to Ryan about, I don't know, a video game or something, but apparently that was useful. So I'm on the record having no idea what that job means. What I do know is if you go to the staff section at PortCon, actually, let's see if it's true. I think they have chairs now, but um,
This sounds like some Horcrux bullshit. I feel like
kind of.
I feel like they split your soul and they've like put it all over the convention, and now it's up to you to like break the seal.
They did a little bit. The problem is I like everyone so much, I sort of don't care. Okay, so I
Oh.
gotta go. So I'm going to PortConMaine.com and I'm going to volunteer staff listing.
Uh-huh.
So the idea was, I was, doing my work stuff and getting kind of stressed and all that stuff. And I decided, hey, it's been a decade plus. I'm gonna stop staffing. I'm gonna relax. I'm gonna have no responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
So now, if you go to the staff listing, instead of being a department chair, now I just show up in management. So there's Julie York and Ryan York who are the chairs. Myself and Ian Anderson are listed as mentors. Ian Anderson's a different kind of mentor in that Ian is incredibly talented and probably useful. But I get to appear next to Ian in that list.
Thanks, Ian.
Yeah. So, but I mean, I wasn't worried about looking bad anyway. So it's just going to make Ian look amazing if they compare Ian to somebody. I'm like, well, I bet Ian's done some work today. I am not.
I haven't. No.
Mm-hmm.
Yay, Ian! You did so good. I moved this
Ian's
box,
pretty
guys.
good.
Way to go, Ian!
Ian and his wife together, I think, used to run the Artist Alley, which they have done a great job with that.
Oh yeah, PortCon always had an awesome artist alley. I remember that about it. Like,
Ian's still the chair. Sorry.
Oh.
Yeah, he's a mentor and the art chair, so I am doing even less than Ian than I thought.
Ian pulling the double duty.
Yep, there he goes.
There he goes. So proud. Yeah, I'm trying to remember. Like the last PortCon that I went to, I didn't stay overnight. I think I just went for a day, and I think it might have been like 2007 or 2008. So it's been a minute since I've actually been to PortCon. But my friends.
Was there a tent outside?
I don't think the tent had arrived yet.
Okay, so it was either 2008 at the Eastland or they had it 2 years before that at what is now the DoubleTree by Hilton.
Uh-huh.
You would have remembered the tent. In 2009, we had a tent, and the tent had pretty carpeting because the hotel was ripping the carpeting out.
Oh.
And I remember that because it flooded, and Tech's whole job became don't kill anybody with electricity, which I'm reasonably sure we achieved. That was a fun year.
Yay! Yeah, no, they're definitely. I think it was the year before you started doing the tent in the parking lot, and I definitely know it was the year before the Eastland because I never went to another hotel for it except for the DoubleTree.
Okay.
But yeah, I remember we went for like the day for that. But previously, I remember in 2004 when I went, it wasn't even at the DoubleTree. It was at like almost like it was almost like a Motel 6, if I
Oh,
remember.
so I wasn't there, but I think because the very first PortCon, I don't even know if it was called PortCon, but it was at like a school. And then yeah, those were early days. That was I think you're describing the place next to Governor's Restaurant over in Scarborough.
I think so, yeah, because I remember it was fun because like we had just come off the high of Anime Boston, and
Yep.
we were like, oh my god, a convention in Maine, let's go! Because it's like you're 18, and you've got a car, and it's like we're gonna go to all the conventions, and we got up there, and it was it was a good convention, but it was just it was teeny then, it was itty
Oh
bitty.
yeah.
Little itty bitty, but it was a good day convention to go to. And then the following year was 2005, and that's when they moved into the DoubleTree. And it was like,
Yep.
oh my god, we're gonna stay overnight for it, and we did, and it was awesome. And it was like, it was wicked funny because I remember it being so special because I was one of those people back in the day, way back in the day, that I had like 7 costumes in a weekend.
Oh wow.
Yeah, like I would just go upstairs and change and come back down and be like, all right, I've got a new costume. Oh, gonna go upstairs and change again. And I hate this one. Oh, nope, I like this one. And that was when Full Metal Alchemist was becoming big.
Oh yeah.
And I had dressed up as Roy Mustang because obsessed. Who wasn't? Who wasn't? And I just remember my friends were supposed to be like we were supposed to have a whole group, and we had come up in separate cars, and the other half of my group got bored at the convention, so they left. And
Oh
I was so mad because I had put together this person's Hughes costume for them, and I was like, you know what? I'm not wasting all of these pictures and these props and everything else. So I went downstairs as Maze Hughes, and
wow.
yeah, and it ended up being one of the costumes I was most well known for through the early 2000s.
Now
Like
Full Metal Alchemist is that's expensive to dress up for.
it was a
Yeah.
very expensive costume. And
I
I
hear it
love it.
costs. I hear it costs an arm and a leg.
Not
I
for
tell
me.
that joke every year, and I will never regret it.
Never Gertz.
Yup.
But yeah, no, like I hosted at AAC. Like I said, I worked there. I did their masquerade a couple times in that costume, just because that's how
Hmm.
people knew me.
Right.
I ended up retiring it, and I auctioned it off for charity a few years later at
Oh
AAC. Yeah, I did that with a
wow.
couple. I did that with a couple of the costumes that I hosted in because like they just became people that I was known for. I did Vash the Stampede one year. And that jacket, oh god, that jacket. I love that jacket. And to this day, I kind of regret being so generous into
Hmm.
raffling it. I have
Hmm.
no idea who got it. I know somebody won it and we shipped it to somebody, but to this day I don't know where it ended up. That jacket was like a whole bolt of red rodeo fabric, so 15 yards of fabric made that jacket,
Wow.
and it had 90 buttons down the front of it, and it had like interchangeable pieces and locks and everything on it. And it's just like I love that costume. But again, it became one of those costumes everyone was like, "Hey, Vash," like they'd make and I gave it away.
Do you have photos of that somewhere?
So I've got to dig around for that one because there wasn't a lot that came up of it. But yeah, I did the
Hmm.
Vash, the Maze Hughes. I did Tamaki from Host Club. Um, I did Yu Yu Hakusho one year. That was fun.
Oh.
I'm trying to think. Oh, I mean, back when Hitalia. Do you remember the Hitalia phase? All the
Hmm.
different
Hmm.
countries. Yep, that was big. I did America one year. Man, and the thing was too is like AAC was very anime oriented. So it's like whenever
Right.
I was like, "Hey guys, can I do something from like this TV show?" and they're like, "No, we're an anime convention." And I was like, "Okay, I'm gonna do Doctor Who."
There's nothing. I will never be upset at a Doctor Who setting.
Right. And I made it work. I was just like, look, we landed
Yep.
at an anime convention. Like I'm the 10th
Hmm.
Doctor.
Hmm.
Leave me alone.
Yep.
Um, but I mean, as my friends know, and I've mentioned it before. The costume I think I'm the most well known for is Tony Stark. Like
I would
Iron.
like to see that.
I will send you pictures of him because I've cosplayed. He's the longest costume cosplay that I have ever done. That's at least 14 years I've cosplayed as Tony
Wow.
Stark. Yep.
Nice.
Yep. I've got quite a few costumes for him. But
That's
yeah.
awesome.
But yeah, no, like yeah, it's just like PortCon like started off like this whole kind of crazy like hosting convention, like really got me into like costume kind of thing. Like because if I had never done Maze Hughes for that convention and it gone over so well, I it's one of those things I don't know if I'd ever would have done it again. Like that costume, and it wouldn't have become as big as it was. So I have a lot to PortCon, as tiny as it is, I might not go there very often. I owe it a lot as a convention.
Well,
So
I'm just glad you had fun.
oh yeah.
Have you ever had a chance to go to the PortCon charity auctions?
I haven't had a chance to, no, but I've heard about them. I hear they do really well.
They are, so it's an 18 plus event,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm pretty sure there's a couple of events where Julie gets to just take herself off the chain. There's Extreme Geek, there's Things That Can't Be Unseen, and there's the charity auction.
Mm-hmm.
And the charity auction's a lot of fun. Julie will do things like one year we had she sold a pair of boxer shorts for I think $200, and they were very special because what Julie did was she went to a site where you could custom print boxer shorts, and she raided my Facebook, and these boxers were just pictures of me and my cats.
I love it.
And the energy that goes into that is really fun, and they do okay. They raise a few grand every year for whatever the charity of the year is. It's a nice time.
Yeah. Oh my god. Yeah. No, I love the conventions. They hold the charity things, and that was the thing with my costumes too. When I did them for AAC, when we raffled them off, we always picked a different charity every year, and we had raffle baskets there. And I would, if I could, I would offer up the costume that I'd hosted in the year before to the charity to make money. And honestly, now that I think about it too, going back, it's like the Hughes costume I got back because I knew the person that won it. And for our 10-year anniversary, I came out and I hosted in it because they were nice enough to let me borrow it again.
Oh wow.
But that went for like, it was one of those moments where people were like open raffling on it, not just like tickets in a bucket.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they paid almost like $300 for it.
Wow.
And I was just and I sat there and I'm like, enough. I'm like, we're done. We can't. I'm not letting this go for more money than that. Like, I put a stop to it. I was like, we can't. You all are broke nerds. It's a Sunday. I know none of you have eaten.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we're done.
You've encapsulated the Sunday experience at a convention really, really well.
I did. It's exactly it. It's like, cut it out. We're done.
Mm-hmm.
But thank you for your donation.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So, oh man. Well, Reüben, it has been quite the pleasure talking to you, sir.
Yeah, I've had a nice time. Thank you for having me on.
You're so welcome. At the end of the show, I like to ask my guests to promote something they're either passionate about or working on. And sir, if you'd like to promote something, now's your time.
All right, so I need to Google something, and then I need to. So bear with me for just a minute.
I will bear with. I'm looking for pictures for you, anyways.
Okay, cool.
Oops. Plus, the joy of editing, I could just take this whole like block out.
Oh, that's right. It can just be instantaneous and sound like I couldn't remember the thing I wanted to remember.
Exactly. See, it'll just be like, bam, Reüben was on it.
Yeah.
Or I leave it in because I forget to edit it out.
Oh, that's
there
fine.
we go. And then never a fool. Let's see. Oh, there's Hughes.
Through the magic of YouTube.
Right.
All right, I can't find it on YouTube, but I've done this so many times. It's just in my contact list.
Sure.
So since our friend Patrick introduced us, Patrick Delahante, from the Anime Cons TV crew.
Yeah.
And because I know I can bother him.
Of course.
Let's see if I can do this.
I believe in you.
I'd like to ask everyone to leave a voicemail at 762-233-7828. That's the Anime Cons TV podcast. There you go. That's my promo.
Yes. Everybody better call that number. I'm going to call that number right now. As soon as we get off this, we're done. I'm going to call him.
You
Well,
can
Reüben,
leave messages. You can. I once read a camera manual until it wouldn't let me record anymore.
that's awesome.
If I have tried a new alcohol, they find out about it.
They know. They just know.
Yeah, they find out.
Well, thanks again, Reüben. It was awesome. And guys, we'll talk to you next week. Have a good night.
Thanks.